There has been a request from several viewers that I need to provide the meanings of various commonly used terminologies in quality, so that the foundation is very strong and it is easy to build the knowledge from here. Also, the knowledge of these terminologies will be helpful for those youngsters who would like to attend the interviews and seniors who would like to teach their teams on quality concepts. Irrespective of whether we are in quality domain or elsewhere, customers ask quality related questions even just to probe our knowledge, because if everybody including the CEO of the company who may not be in quality domain is able to answer the quality related queries of the global customers, especially, they get a confidence that this organization has a quality focus. So it is inescapable for everybody to know these terminologies and their meanings, so that they can be good at projecting themselves, the organization also in front of customers, especially the global customers, on the quality focus of the particular organization. I am starting this three-part session to provide all the important basic terminologies we use in quality and what are their meanings in simple words. Hi, I'm Jagdish Kumar, Master Black Belt Six Sigma, CMQOE, CRE, Certified Reliability Engineer from American Society for Quality and Lead Auditor ISO 9001:2015, doing this presentation. Now, basic confusion is there in the minds of people. What is non-conformance? What is defect? Is there a difference between them? Whether non-conformance and non-conformity are one and the same or they are different. Let us clarify now. Non-conformance and non-conformity are the same, whereas defect is different. Now, what is non-conformance or non-conformity? Failure to meet a specification. There may be a parameter, say length, so and so mm. The item is slightly more or slightly less. Now, should you reject the item or should you accept the item? That is where the analysis is required. If that parameter, say length, is a critical requirement or a key characteristic, then we have to reject or if possible do the rework. If not, if it is not a general parameter, then there is no need to rework. You can go for a deviation also. Not advisable but manageable. So failure to meet specification is called as non-conformance or non-conformity. Now let us understand what is a defect. Now, non-conforming item has failed to meet a key characteristic. What is a key characteristic? That parameter which can impact your form, fit, function or safety. If these parameters are impacted by non-conformance, then it becomes a defect. So defect is more severe than a non-conformance. In case of a defect, no deviation permitted. You have to go for rework and make the parameter meet the specification, or you may have to scrap the item if it is not possible. So we understood the difference between non-conformance and non-defect, and also that non-conformance and non-conformity are one and the same. Let us move forward. What is a defect? Here also some confusion exists. What is a defect and what is a defective? An item that has defect is called as a defective. Obviously, a defective item gets rejected. Please also remember from knowledge point of view, one defective item can have more than one defect. item may be out of specification in length, also it may be out of specification in its diameter. So there may be more than one defect in one defective. So there is a difference between defect and defective. Hope it is clear to you now. Please go through this presentation multiple times so that you master the terminology wherever you have any doubt. Now, what is key characteristic? We discussed this. Parameter, maybe the length, strength, inductance, capacitance, whatever it is. The parameter that impacts or disturbs or contributes to form, that is shape of the item, fit, that means how easy and smart it is easy to fit into the next assembly, compliance or safety requirements, or functionality are called as key characteristics. So we understood now deviations in general parameters can be tolerated, but deviations in key characteristics can never be tolerated. Any failure in key characteristics becomes a defect. Any failure in non-key characteristic areas becomes a non-conformance. Hope this is very clear to us. Now we will move forward. Critical parameter. Now, if we have 100 parameters from Pareto analysis, we know that only 20% are vital. This is a great advantage of using a Pareto principle. These 20% parameters are key characteristics. In that, generally 18% we will be able to meet easily. Though there is no deviation allowed, our processes also will be so good that they are also capable of meeting those requirements. We struggle to meet, or we have risk to meet only 1 or 2 parameters in any major product. This has been my experience. These parameters where the company is struggling, where the company has risk to achieve, is called as a critical parameter. Critical parameter needs a control chart, control plan, and so on, which we will discuss later. Now, what is risk, which we use in critical parameter, risk to achieve? What is a risk? Risk is an undesirable event likely to happen. If it is going to happen, then it becomes part of your work instruction to take care of that, or SOP. Then how about including everything in SOP? The manufacturing cost can go up 10 times. This is the practical experience. So wherever a risk is likely to happen and less likely to happen, we will not make it part of our SOP or a mandatory process. If it happens, we will go for the risk handling processes, which I will discuss later. So an undesirable event, likely is the key word here, likely to happen is a risk. This may not be covered in SOP as a regular process. If that happens, mitigation plan or risk handling process will be done, so that the manufacturing cost is not shooting up exorbitantly like 10 times. Now, containment. This is what we use in ISO also, and generally it is asked as a number one approach towards handling the non-conformance or a defect. Action to limit or restrict damage through a quick fix is called as containment. What is containment? The action to limit or restrict the damage of any non-conformance or defect through a quick fix before root cause analysis is done and corrective actions are taken. RCA and CVA I will explain in later. Now, what could be the action to limit a damage? Now I have a lot where I am finding defects. Now what should I do? I should separate the lot from my production line and do the 100% inspection. I segregate good and bad. Good items I will again give back for the production to continue. Now this is a action to restrict damage because the danger of a defective item going into production and reaching the customer is eliminated. Now what do you do with the defective item? You study them, you do the corrective actions for future, and at present you do defect repair. If it is repaired, re-inspect, and then again you will give it back to the production line to use in production. This is nothing but containment. This is nothing but containment. Segregation of the bad lot, then further segregation of good and bad, handing over the good for production, repairing the bad ones, again check, re-inspecting and handing over for production to ensure good products only reach to customer is damage control, which is called as a containment. Next comes correction. Now, in this containment, I talked about defect segregation and defect repair. This is called as a correction. It is not corrective action, it is a correction. Defect repair is a correction. What is a correction? Action to ensure only good products reach the customer, or a next stage of production is called as correction. So we understood now defect repair is a correction. It is temporary because for the timing, as far as the product is concerned, we are doing the permanent improvement, but the process is still not improved. The process that manufactures this product, this lot of item, will repeat the same defect in the next lot also. So it does not require correction. For a permanent improvement, we need a corrective action. Now let us understand what is a corrective action. This is an important word even in ISO also. Corrective action is that permanent action. Please remember, permanent action taken so that the problem does not reoccur at all. The problem is permanently solved. Corrective action is a permanent action taken so that the problem does not recur at all, reoccur at all. Now, defect repair is a correction. Why we understood? Because though we ensure good items are going to customer or into production, in the next lot, the manufacturing process produces the same defects. That's why it is temporary. Whereas corrective action, you do the root cause analysis, then you come out with corrective action, and then implement the improvement in the process, which is the cause for permanent improvement, and this is called as corrective action. Please be very clear what is containment, what is correction, what is corrective action. Then people talk about preventive action. Preventive action is that permanent action taken to eliminate the potential failure. In corrective action, we suffer failure and take the permanent action to eliminate. Here, we anticipate potential failure and take action so that those failures do not happen at all. This is preventive action. Nowadays, in ISO 9001 or globally, they talk less about preventive action, not because it is effective, because it is subset of risk management, which has been given a lot of emphasis in the current quality management standards like ISO or aerospace standard AS9100. Now, there is a C&D, the word used especially by global customers. Are you using C&D? So please do not panic. They are talking about cause and effect diagram. This I will explain in detail when I take up QCC. Cause and effect diagram is also called as fishbone diagram or Ishikawa diagram. Please remember, this is the best tool for focused thinking and idea generation. You will come out with many more causes in a team when you use a cause and effect diagram, and those causes, once you have exhaustive list or representation in the cause and effect of say 36 to 40 causes for a particular problem, it is easy for you to handle with the root cause and then do the permanent improvement. Even after nearly 1 century, nobody is able to challenge this tool and its power to generate ideas for identifying the causes for a particular problem. What is the strength here? Focused thinking. You first discuss how man can contribute to all these problems, then how machine can, and so on. This helps in more idea generation. Guided tool for idea generation. Moving forward, let us talk about monitoring. Please remember, monitoring is a periodic and a continuous process. It is a periodic process, need-based action, because In the initial phases, when things are not so clear, monitoring will be very close for any project or whatever. As the process stabilizes, your monitoring will be slightly not as frequent as before. It can be slightly sparse. Like earlier I was checking every day, now I may be checking once in a week, afterwards I may check once in a month and so on. That is why need based action. So it is, monitoring is a periodic need based action. Point number 3, identify deviation from the text set target if any. What is the purpose of monitoring? You take measures like what is the level of progress in a project, like what has been the level of acceptance after improvement I have done, say through QCC or Six Sigma. Now I see whether it is really fetching my improvement. If not, what is the deviation and how to make the deviation zero ideally by further corrective actions. So identify deviation from the set target is the primary object of monitoring. And point number 4, what is the purpose? Bring the process back to track through corrective actions, root cause analysis and corrective actions. This is done based on metrics. Please remember, monitoring should not be based on perception. It should be based on one particular measure or yardstick, which is easy to understand, easy to check, and recognize any deviation quickly, or even convince management with the data that yes, there was a deviation, this is the problem, and now we need a corrective action and so on. So monitoring is not perception based. Monitoring is what? It's a periodic activity, need based frequency, more in the beginning and later it can be sparse as I discussed. What is the purpose of monitoring? Identify any deviation from the set target or the objective. If there is a deviation, come out with the corrective action. And point number 4, bring the process back on track. So monitoring is a continuous process and very important. What is not monitored is not controlled is the proverb in management. Now we will discuss two terminologies. What is verification and what is validation? This has been confusion in the minds of many professionals, and this has been frequently used in ISO standard also. Verification is a brief action, maybe through simulation like Monte Carlo analysis, 3D modeling, and so many software tools are there that also can be used. Verification is that action taken either by real means, means making the product and checking, or by simulated means. For especially expensive items, you simulate and see whether it can meet what? Well, to confirm that design can meet the required design output. Means if I am designing an equipment for a range of 450 kilometers and after the design and making the item, it can only create 380 kilometers, mean that item is a waste, it is rejected. So I should simulated mode utilization I should do to see whether my design really can produce that item which has a 450 kilometer range. This confirmation can be by real means or by simulation means. This is called as verification. So what is the focus of verification? Focus of verification is to check the efficacy of a design, whether the design is capable of delivering what it is supposed to deliver. Otherwise customer will not accept. The focus is on design in verification. Action is not as elaborate as validation, and it can be real means or it can be by virtual or simulated means. Now we come to validation. Validation is a detailed action done. This cannot be done on simulation mode. You need to build a proto pilot, means at least a first of a sample piece, and you do detailed check to see whether this product can meet all the requirements of the customer if it is a custom built item, or all the requirements or intended use of the market. Because if you do not do, your competitor will do better and he will occupy the market. So validation has what focus? Validation is a detailed action, cannot be done in simulated mode. You make a proto pilot, first of sample, and then check to see whether it can meet all the requirements of the customer, all the requirements of the market or not. Here requirement of the customer is the prime objective. So this please be very clear. What is verification? What is validation? What is the difference between two? Verification focuses on design efficacy. Validation focuses on fulfilling the customer's needs or market needs. Now, brainstorming. Brainstorming is a technique to generate ideas. Please remember, a best brainstorming approach is when people sit together, come together, and they discuss and develop the idea. Because ideas lead to ideas. If person A gives an idea which is very raw, B will get an idea to build on that and give a better idea. This is the benefit of brainstorming done in a group, and we advocate that people should physically come together. Then there is a group synergy which will elevate the thinking level. Now, as we sit together in a team, in the beginning, a team is formed, and the first reaction, I'm looking at form, storm, norm, perform. First thing is team is formed. As the team sits together for the first time, there will be misunderstanding, there will not be good understanding, I will say, and there will be some people who will try to establish themselves as important and so on. There will be a storm happening. Many of the team leaders get disappointed with this kind of storm that is happening within the team. Please remember, I had been consoling so many leaders, especially the lady leaders now, who used to come to me and complain about the team and team's behavior. This is only part of team development. There will be formation of the team, then the storm. Afterward, they will realize there is no point in establishing myself. More important is to fulfill the objective of the goal of the entire team. They'll normalize, they'll cooperate with one another and then contribute productively, and they perform. So in team formation, please don't forget these levels are inevitable. Form, storm, that is some friction, then normalization, and then perform. Form, storm, norm, perform. This will happen in a group when they sit together, then afterwards they'll generate a lot of ideas. I'll explain brainstorming in detail later. Now there is one more called 5W and 1H technique. This is one technique that will help you to have an overview of the situation. Wherever you have a quality problem, say, you need an overview, then only you can give a holistic solution. This is helped by 5W and 1H. Sometimes people say 5W and 2H. Also, this may help you to reach at the root cause, but there is another tool for root cause analysis which is predominantly used called YY technique. I'll explain that later. Here 5W stand for what? Ask what is the problem, why the problem, when was the problem, where the problem is happening, who is actually in charge, responsible, or who has the knowledge of this and who can help in solving this, and how this can be solved and how much of effort should be put. There is a proverb, keep simple things simple. Just to tighten the tolerance, I cannot indent or request management for a machine that is worth 2 crores, 3 crores. So this kind of a trade-off also may be required. That's why the word how much has come. How much means the principle is keep simple things simple. Give simple solutions. So 5W and 1H gives you overview of the situation, problem area and problem context. It can also help in arriving at root cause analysis. Pareto tool is a very important strategic tool also. Suppose somebody goes to an organization as a CEO, there will be 100 problems. He cannot run behind 100 problems. If he uses the Pareto principle and takes the top 10, top 20 problems from their vital few, puts his resources behind that, he can show the jump in performance by 80. This is a huge beneficial tool called as Pareto analysis. This is used actually in QCC and Six Sigma also. The tool is also called as 80-20 rule. So what is the role of Pareto tool? Pareto tool segregates vital few, which is 20% from a huge basket of problems or issues, and if you focus on these vital problems, your jump in performance will be enormous. Root cause analysis. What is the root cause? Root cause is that primary or basic reason for the failure. Here it is quality failure. How to identify the root cause? First, you should sit in a group, take the problem statement, do a cause and effect diagram. From the possible causes, you have to validate the real valid causes. Then you have to use your team's knowledge to find out the root cause and come out with corrective action. Please remember, if you are not doing root cause analysis and from your own experience or top of your mind impression, if you start doing the corrective action, that will never be a permanent improvement. So no RCA means no corrective action, means corrective action should have root cause analysis before it is arrived at. This is must and should. Please do not forget this. Why analysis, I told you, is asking why 5 times in sequence so that you arrive at the root cause. Just to give an example, in a European villa, the car shed is outside on a and the car shed will have a actually sheet roof. Now a scenario happened. The owner of the car brings the car inside the garage and the tire punctures. Then he sees the reason as a nail. He removes sweeps out the nail away from the shed floor, and next time when he brings back his car, again the puncture happens. Now he looks upwards. Why? The nails are small nails are there on the floor. He looks upwards. First, why is done. Second, why? Now he will ask, because he saw a wet cardboard box being there. Now why the cardboard box is wet? He looked and he found that in the cardboard box, because it became wet and soft, it had torn off and the nails were falling from there. So why the cardboard box was getting wet? He just saw up and saw there was a hole visible on the roof from where the rainwaters were dropping in. Because of the rain. Why? Because of the rain. Why the rainwater is coming inside? Because there was a hole on the roof. Why there is a hole on the roof? Because the shingle or the support between the sheet and the frame using a U-clamp was done, and that U-clamp had fallen down. Now the root cause is fixing the U-clamp, not sweeping the floor every time. You understood? At symptom level you should not solve the problem. At the root cause level you should solve the problem. This root cause you can arrive by YY analysis. Now quality. Conformance to requirements is the best definition for quality, but if you want to be theoretical, then let us understand. This is not difficult to understand, though it is lengthy. When quality features like key characteristics and other characteristics meet specifications, quality is all about meeting the specifications, and the product has ability to meet stated or implied customer stakeholder needs, then the product is said to carry quality. It meets all the specifications and it can deliver the intended needs of the customer or stakeholder, is called as an item that has a quality in it. It is good quality. Statistics for quality is using numeric data. Any numeric data if you use for taking decision on quality, that means you are using statistics for quality. The benefit of statistics for quality is that you will be able to find out the real reason based on data, not based on hunch or whatever, and come out with permanent improvements, which will be significant. Also, statistics has the power to reveal hidden problems, which otherwise you would not have realized at all. Now, I request you to please go through this presentation repeatedly and master the terminologies used in this part 1 out of 3-part series. I will release part 2 and part 3 also for your knowledge. I take this opportunity to request you to please subscribe to this channel so that you will get future notifications by pressing the bell icon. Thank you so much for your support, and if you have liked this presentation and simple illustration, please give a like, thumbs up, and terminology is essential for every individual to know. I have covered here, including the CEO, including the people in production group or other areas, including materials management, because an organization that has quality focus will have all the individuals having good knowledge foundation of quality. This is a mandatory requirement. Please utilize this presentation to enhance your knowledge. Thank you so much for all your support.